Hello and welcome to Crypto News. Today is August 19th, 2025, and here are the top cryptocurrency news stories. We'll start our episode with stablecoins and move on to South Korea, which is preparing the legal framework for its stablecoins to be launched in October so that it can slowly get into the game. Meanwhile, Hong Kong, which has released a legal framework for stablecoins, is now warning of scams that are mushrooming once the legislation is in place, as some companies may appear and apparently not all of them are real. Moving on, we'll move on to ETFs. On August 18th, we saw $121 million worth of outflows in Bitcoin ETFs, while Ethereum ETFs had $196 million worth of outflows. Let's just say that while ETFs were a bit in the red yesterday, ETPs last week saw very large inflows, totaling $3.75 billion, as you can see from this chart here. Perhaps most impressively, of all that money, $552 million went into Bitcoin and $2.8 billion went into Ethereum. In short, 77% of the ETP money went into Ethereum, which is something we don't see very often. I repeat, institutional investors are very focused on Ethereum these days. Moving on to ETFs, let me tell you that the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, rejected all ETFs related to Solana, XRP, and even an ETF that included both Bitcoin and Ethereum. So be prepared for the end of the year regarding these ETFs. Moving forward, we will see companies that usually buy everything. Strategy bought 430 Bitcoin for $51.4 million. Metaplanet bought 775 Bitcoin and is now at 18,888 Bitcoin. A construction company in Japan called LibWork bought $3.4 million worth of Bitcoin to combat inflation and take advantage of Bitcoin's strength against it. Meanwhile, Kindly MD completed a capital increase and raised $200 million to continue buying Bitcoin. From Bitcoin, let's move on to Ethereum. Bitmine, which invested $1.7 billion, managed to buy over 373,000 ETH. Moving on to coins, we come to Circle's Layer 1 blockchain. As we have already reported in Crypto News, Circle is building its own blockchain and has now secured a very large partnership. With this partnership, it will compete with XRP and other similar coins. Let's say it partnered with Fireblocks, which is based in New York and provides custodial and tokenization infrastructure to over 2,400 banks, asset managers, and fintech companies. This company has confirmed that it will support Circle's Layer 1 blockchain from day one. With this very big partnership, Circle can compete with XRP and other coins, as you can imagine. Moving on to our coins, we'll go to Solana, which didn't reach 100,000 transactions, but let's see what exactly happened, because I'm pretty sure some of you have heard that Solana hit 100,000 transactions. Let's say this was announced by Mr. Mert Mumtaz, the founder of Helios, a company that develops tools for Solana. He said that Solana recorded 100,000 transactions per second on its mainnet. This was announced late Sunday and essentially showed a block that had recorded 43,016 successful transactions and 50 unsuccessful transactions, stating that the total transactions reached 107,540. This is the block which said that they reached 100,000 plus transactions, and this is their official statement on X. However, let's say that most of the transactions were not transfers involving coins, NFTs, DeFi, etc., but rather no operation program calls, an instruction that does not perform any meaningful calculations or state changes. As we say at Crypto News, we call such transactions signaling. Every blockchain, in addition to its transactions, also has different signaling so that this entire vast ecosystem can communicate with each other. Not every transaction on the blockchain is a transfer of currency, or to be more specific, a transfer of value. However, in some blockchains like Solana and many others, for some reason, all of these are counted in the total number of transactions, even though they are not actually transactions, but rather operations for the operation of the network. And I am not the only one who says this. It is something that the person who claimed that Solana arrived at this number admitted, as he himself said that most of these transactions were program calls. However, the developers could conclude that theoretically they can always make between 80 and 100,000 transactions if you do Oracle updates and similar operations. This is his official statement, with the clarification that many of these transactions were not real transfers, but signaling, as we say in Crypto News. Let's say that theoretically the Solana network can reach these numbers. However, many blockchains claim that they can reach even higher numbers theoretically. The actual number that Solana can achieve can be found in Solana Scan, which is the official Solana tool, where we see that it can reach TPS 3,503 and true TPS 1,000. And as we move on to our favorite cryptocurrency market, we see that Bitcoin is at $115,000, again very close to breaking our support. And the reason the market is not so happy is the one we mentioned in previous episodes. In general, on the 20th to 22nd, the Fed and Mr. Powell will give a lot of interviews. They will say things about the economy, how they see the population, and they talked about cutting interest rates, the rumored 0.5 point cut, and so on. The most important day is the 22nd of the month, which we mentioned in yesterday's episode of Crypto News, when Mr. Powell will be in Jackson Hole to give a speech. Everyone is waiting anxiously for what he will say again, and for this reason, Bitcoin and other markets are not very happy. That wraps up the top news for crypto today. Is August 19th, 2025. I'd like to remind you that the content you just watched is created for educational purposes only and should not be considered as investment advice, but rather as investment opinion. Please subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and feel free to comment. Take care, everyone, and have a good day.